podcast and Bets live stream. My name is Rob Dauster. That gentleman you see over there, what is that, an Abilene Christian hat?
No, it's some old baseball hat, but I like the hat. I don't even know who it is, but I kind of like the hat. So I got the hat down in Charleston when I was there.
Did you have to mix it up because the Alabama hat lost all its luck?
Well, it didn't lose all its luck until late last night when Gonzaga, Umar Ballo screwed us up with that dunk, man. Come on, what are you doing? Like, I've never disliked a kid that I didn't know as much as I did last night.
That was unbelievable.
Right?
I couldn't believe I mean, look, here, so I guess we could talk about we could fold this into the Gonzaga conversation. They were not good last night. They did not play anywhere near their best game. Jalen Suggs had a 3-minute stretch where he looked completely unstoppable at the start of the second half. And beyond that, like, he was just bad yesterday.
Yes.
They couldn't really find a way to get Drew Timme involved. Corey Kispert was fine. Didn't play his best, didn't play his worst, knocked down a couple shots. Yeah. But for the most part, like, they really could not assert control over the game. They couldn't get out in transition. Jalen Suggs was not very good. And they still won by 14. And they would have covered if it was not for some random freshman coming off of the bench and hitting a three. That kid, by the way, has scored 8 points all season.
With no time left in the shot clock, wasn't that? Like, basically, no time left in the shot clock. He buries it. Then Gonzaga had one other opportunity, right? They drove down. I forget what happened, but they had one more chance, and then obviously the dunk was like, I mean, honestly, you or I could have laid that ball in.
Yeah, it was a wide open, just catching an alley-oop and dunking it, and Umar Ballo missed it. It is what it is. Are you concerned about Gonzaga at all? Because my biggest thing was, like, this is what we refer to when we say that they can pick up bad habits by playing teams that are overmatched in the WCC. It's the second straight game where they've come out and they've looked sluggish. I don't want to say they've looked bored, but they looked like they just knew that they could turn it on and win the game. And you can't do that once you get to the NCAA tournament. You could do it now in WCC play, and you're going to be fine. You're going to win every game by 14 or 15 points. They beat Pepperdine by 22 and played horrible in the first half the other day.
Did you like here's my idea to keep Gonzaga fresh. And you heard it last night, right? Like, there's two options here. There's two options.
Well, you're not thinking it through enough because Oklahoma State's currently on a pause.
They're going to be back. As long as they test okay on Monday, they will play next Saturday's game against Baylor. So I've already thought that one through. Trust me, that's the best scenario. The best scenario is Oklahoma State gets like a false positive on Monday, right? And that game's scrapped. And then Baylor's got the hole there, and Gonzaga, they would have to – the problem is they would have to get the league to okay them not to play Pacific at home. And Damon Stoudemire would go bananas if they pulled that shit. Now, again, as I said yesterday, Gonzaga does run the league. So Mark Few can probably do whatever the hell he wants there and just threaten them, leaving the league and going to some other league in the future. I just think, listen, there might be a chance here. Like, Jamie Dixon holds the key to this whole thing. He holds the key to my whole idea. They play TCU, Baylor does in 2 Saturdays. Gonzaga's got an open spot. It makes sense. Jamie Dixon, take one for college basketball because nobody wants to see Baylor against TCU. Nobody gives a shit. But you know what people give a shit about? Gonzaga, Baylor.
I think it's more likely that you will go on a live stream with Robbie Hummel and use the correct graphics than it is that we will see Baylor ever play Gonzaga outside of the NCAA tournament this season. I like the creativity, though. You're thinking outside the box, and that's what we need this season.
Totally. Listen, I'm going to get this shit happening. I'm going to find a way. Remember, it's got to be in a Saturday. That's the issue here. It's got to be in a Saturday because of CBS, is what I'm told.
So, all right, moving on. Virginia, they won by 35 against Clemson.
They won by a few.
They put up 85 points on the team that was ranked number 1 in defensive efficiency on KenPom. They have made 27 of their last 51 threes over the course of the last 2 games. They're 5-0 in ACC play. They have not lost since they got run out of the gym by Gonzaga on the day after Christmas. Where do you stand on Virginia? How good is UVA? Are they the best team in the ACC? Like, talk me through all of this because it's hard for me to wrap my head around.
Yeah, I think they're gonna be the best team in the ACC in a mediocre ACC. We've already talked about this. They caught Clemson at the right time, coming off a pause. Would it have mattered? Probably not. Virginia's getting better. We've seen that. For Virginia fans that are crying about me not ranking them, you hadn't beaten anybody. You lost to USF. You got blown out by Gonzaga, and you hadn't beaten anybody. So there was no merit in you being ranked in the top 25. Now there is. Now you beat a top 25 team in Clemson. To me, again, listen, I've always said, just look at the numbers and what Tony Bennett has done in the ACC over the last 6-7 years, dominating Kay and Roy. So if you're betting on anybody, you are absolutely betting on Virginia, and you're betting on Tony Bennett ultimately because this team, they're good. And again, they're getting better. That's the thing. It's hard to judge, coming out of the gate in Bubbleville when they lost to San Francisco. It's hard to judge when you get blown out by a Gonzaga team that most of us feel like is heads and shoulders above everybody else not named Baylor right now. So I think Virginia's going to have its really good days, and they're going to have some days where they're not making shots, and specifically Hauser and Huff aren't making shots, and then they can't score the ball, and their defense isn't as good as it's been in the past.
So I've gone back and forth on this. On the one hand, we always know that Virginia teams are going to improve and going to continue getting better and going to develop. And we know Kihei Clarkson winner, we know what Jay Huff is, we know what Sam Hauser is. I think the development of guys like Trey Murphy into a consistent knockdown shooter, Reese Beekman into a guy that is basically become a must-start player on that Virginia roster. Yeah. Tomas Holden Tensei being able to knock down shots. Like the development of those guys into key and impactful role players I think has played a huge role in it as well. But that said, look at who they've beaten, man. Their best win prior to the start of ACC play was an overtime win at home against Kent State, who is outside the top 100 on KenPom. That's the only team that they had played prior to the start of ACC play that ranked in the top 235 on KenPom. The wins that they have before beating Clemson: Notre Dame, Wake Forest, Boston College, Notre Dame again. They get Clemson after Clemson had a 10-day layoff and then had 3 days of practices before they had to play again. Now, that shouldn't take away from the fact that they put up 85 points in 58 possessions. That's 1.47 points per possession, Jeffrey. When Gonzaga put up 98 on Virginia, they averaged 1.42 points per possession. So what Virginia did against Clemson was a more impressive offensive performance than what Gonzaga did to Virginia. I think that should be taken into context. But we also have to remember that they did the same thing last year too, where they were just okay, objectively mediocre in non-conference play. They get to the ACC, which was not very good, and they went 15-5. I think they won their last 9 games, and they finished second in the conference, 1 game out of first place. This year, the ACC is even more down than it was last season. So I really do think that Virginia is probably going to end up winning the conference just because.
Well, look at their schedule too coming up, Rob.
It's not.
NC State at home, Georgia Tech at home, Syracuse at home. Then you go at Virginia Tech, at NC State, Louisville at home, at Georgia Tech. It's just like you said, the league is so mediocre. This is the most mediocre to me the ACC has ever been. Again, because you look at Virginia and you're like, they don't look like what team in the ACC looks like a Final Four contender?
Well, I remember I was talking with a guy from a staff in a coach in the ACC the other day, and he was basically like, Virginia they're good, they're well coached. They're not going to make mistakes. They're not going to beat themselves if they're making shots. They're dangerous, but this is not the 2019 team. No. That 2019 team had the number 4 pick in DeAndre Hunter. They had another first-round pick in Ty Jerome, and they had another guy that's playing in the NBA and was maybe the best shooter in college basketball that season, in Kyle Guy.
This year's team the other two players were pretty good on that starting 5 as well.
Yeah, and the other 2 guys, or this team now is Kihei Clark, and look, he's good.
Do any of those players, anybody on this team start over anybody on that team?
Well, I mean, Kihei Clark started on both.
I get it,
but
other than that, the other four guys, Hauser,
no, it's not even
Beekman. No, none of them. None
and
of them.
it's not even close. Like the talent disparity is just it's not even a conversation. Like you can't even put them in the same realm. But they're probably going to end up winning the ACC because the ACC is down and they're the best team in the conference. So like how you judge them nationally is really difficult to do because I think it's also important to note that like the loss to Virginia came when they were experimenting with this new offense that was just a horrible idea for Tony Bennett to try to install. The loss to Gonzaga, yes, they played a game 4 days before, but they had also been on like a 2-week long COVID pause before that. So it's understandable that maybe they weren't exactly what they needed to be. But at the end of the day, I just think that they're very, very average in terms of what we expect a Virginia basketball team to be. And that's probably going to end up being good enough for them to win the ACC and get like a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament and lose in the second round. Like that's kind of what I see them be. So they're good. They're probably better than – they're not as good as we thought they were coming into the season. They're not as bad as we thought they were after the first week of the season.
Correct.
I think that's probably the best way to phrase it.
Yes, they fit nicely in the somewhere in that like 3 to 5 range in the Big Ten.
I don't even know if they would be that good. I don't think that they're – I think that they would not – I don't think they'd be a top 4 team in the Big Ten.
You may be right. I mean, there's somewhere in all right, 3 to 6. Like they're in that mix. Is all.
Are they beating Iowa? I don't think they can.
No, I don't think they're beating Iowa. I don't think they're beating Michigan, Wisconsin. Maybe.
I don't think they beat Wisconsin unless somehow there's some superpower that Tony Bennett can take from being from the state. And maybe it's just like the Sam Hauser curse. Wisconsin can't get him when he leaves high school. They can't get him when he transfers.
Ohio
Maybe
State. They're in that realm with like an Ohio State. I'm not saying they're better. I'm just saying they're right there with like an Ohio State, which is probably the 5th best team right now in the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean it's something like that. Yep. Yeah, but like it's still, when you look at it, all right. If you're gonna look at the roster, let's take Minnesota for example. Right, 4-4 in the Big Ten, probably not a top 5 team in the conference. Right. If you are drafting those players to start a college basketball team, and you can take the rosters of Virginia and you can take the rosters of Minnesota, are you taking anyone on Virginia over Marcus Carr or Liam Robbins?
You know who I'm drafting first? Tony Bennett.
Okay, but that's
drafting first. That's
okay.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. I'm going to take the best. I'm going to take the best coach in college basketball.
I get it. What I'm saying is, you can say what you want about the talent level. He makes such a difference. He is such an elite coach that, to me, again, he's gonna get him to a point where they shouldn't be talent-wise right now. And they're young. They got some good young players as well that are coming along. All right, let's get to tonight's slate.
I just want to real quick, people that are listening right now. Jeff and Robbie Humble discussed the Michigan game and the Illinois game and the Baylor game on a live stream yesterday. So you could find that on the Field of 68 YouTube channel. You could find that in their podcast feeds. You could find that on the Field of 68 Twitter channel. Like there's any avenue that we have to put out content, you can find a conversation about Baylor and Michigan on those channels. All right, so let's talk about today's games. We have Iowa at Northwestern. That's probably the best game of the day. Iowa's laying 9.5. That total right now is 159.5. Jeff, how do you feel about it?
I don't have a strong opinion on this one. I would lean towards going with Iowa, but I don't love it either way. I mean, Northwestern played well at home there for a stretch. Now I think their confidence is shaken right now, and Iowa's playing the best basketball that it has all season long. They're clicking on all cylinders. Jordan Bohannon's back. I think Patrick McCaffrey's played well. They've got some bench guys now. Like I think Iowa, to me, if anything, I'd take Iowa and lay the 9.5.
So I think I like the under here. Part of the reason why this number is as high as it is for the total is because Iowa's Iowa and they put up a whole bunch of points. But it's also because Northwestern has tried to run. They're second national, or they're second in the Big Ten in average, in like the shortest offensive possession length. But I think it's important to note that the last time that they played Iowa-Northwestern did not really they did not try to run.
Right.
They wanted to slow down the tempo. They wanted to slow down the pace. They took a lot of time off the shot clock. And that game did not go over until the three with like 32 seconds left in the game. That put them over the top. I think Jordan Bohannon hit a couple threes down the stretch that saved us on that total, if I remember correctly. In each of their last 5, 6, 7, each of the last 7 games, they have not had more than 71 possessions in any game. So I think they're going to try to take the air out of the ball. I think they're going to have more success doing it at home. So I like the under in this spot more than either side in the game. I think that's my favorite bet of the day.
My favorite bet of the day might be the next game on the slate, a Big Ten game, also Penn State at Purdue. And I just don't think Penn State's any good. I know they beat Virginia Tech, but I think that was kind of a one-off. They're 3-4. I think they've lost 3 straight. Purdue's got some momentum right now, right? I mean, they beat Michigan State, beat Indiana, both on the road. I mean, 2 good road wins. You know, to me, I think Purdue's coming. And I think Matt Painter's such a good coach that I'm not going against Purdue here. I'll lay the 5, and I like the Boilermakers in this one.
And isn't Penn State coming off a pretty long layoff? Like, were
they did. They had a pause. It wasn't like a full pause. But it was the last time they have played a game.
Last time they played was December 30th. They haven't played in 2021.
Right. That's
been 18 days since they played a game.
Yeah, I like Purdue a lot in this one. I like Purdue. You like Purdue?
Yeah, I like Purdue.
What else you like?
Nothing really. It's kind of a weird slate of games. Like, there isn't really a lot of high major stuff going on. I do. Western Kentucky is at Marshall.
Yeah, what do you like?
I kind of like Western Kentucky. I kind of like the money line for the same reason. It's 3 now, and the money line is 130. So I kind of like Western Kentucky in that spot. I know it's on the road.
Right.
I would probably take the money line just because you get a little bit of extra added value, and it doesn't seem all that likely that you end up playing a close game. So I do like Western Kentucky in that spot. And the only other one that I was looking at was Memphis laying 1.5 at Tulsa. Memphis
didn't that open at like Tulsa giving 3?
Yeah, it was something like that. And but the reason I like Memphis is that they haven't played in a while, but it's not because they never had to pause. They just kept running into teams. Yeah, and so like you know what Penny really needed with this group? He really needed like 2 weeks to sit down and try to figure out what the fuck they're doing offensively.
Yep.
And he got it.
You're right. I like Virginia Tech, Rob. Again, I think Wake stinks. Absolutely stinks. They've come back here, played a couple games, played actually fairly well for them, but I don't think they're any good. Where Virginia Tech, man, like for the most part, they played well other than that Penn State game. Look at who they beat. And they beat Villanova, neutral court early. They just beat Duke at home. They beat Clemson at home. Like Virginia Tech's pretty good. So I like Virginia Tech at Wake there. And then I got a few of the mid-major specials.
All right. Yeah, let's roll through. What do you got? Yeah, I love a good mid-major special from Jeff Goodman.
The two that didn't come through yesterday, they kind of fit into 2 boxes now. So Navy didn't cover yesterday. They won by 1 over American. American's first game of the season. They're playing back-to-back days. Navy's giving 5. I like the midshipman there.
Right.
I like the same philosophy, exact same philosophy with Lafayette over Loyola. Lafayette did not cover. They won by 2. They're getting 1 today at Loyola. I will take I think it's the Leopards. Is it the Lafayette Leopards? I feel like it's the Leopards. If it's not the Leopards, somebody let me know. I really like UMBC. They lost to Hartford yesterday. They get them again at home, given 5. I like Ryan Odom's team there. State at Sac State. I like Idaho State. Given 1.5, Sac State has had major pauses. They're coming off a pause just now. Then 2 more that have nothing to do with pauses or back-to-backs. Well, actually, Fresno, Nevada is the opposite. I just think Fresno stinks. So I'm taking Nevada and giving 6.5 there. And the last one is Dayton. I think GW stinks. I don't think Dayton's very good, but I think when they're going to get an opponent that they can try to run it up on, they're gonna take out their frustrations on GW. Dayton is giving 7.5 against GW. So there you have it. Bunch of lows and mids to go with Purdue, Western Kentucky, Virginia Tech for me, and check bet spurts. I'll put them. I've already actually put them all in there. So if you're confused at some of my blabbering, check bet spurts.
I'm confused at all of your blabbering at all times, Jeffrey.
Sure you are.
All right, so I have Purdue -5. I have the Iowa-Northwestern under 159.5. I have Memphis laying 1.5. I have the Western Kentucky money line, and I have Virginia Tech and the Fighting Mike Youngs laying 7 at Wake Forest. Jeffrey, that's all I got, man.
Have a happy Sunday. Hopefully you win some money and watch